Nothing beats water from the top end, eh?
I don't listen to your podcast.
Your podcast will never win an award. Never win an award. Never win an award.
Where am I? This podcast is not dead, although you could be forgiven for thinking so given the delay between episodes. But I've been absolutely flat out since November last year. Christmas was a doozy. New Year's Eve I'm sworn to secrecy about, and New Year's Day was just off the charts. So it's time to sit back, relax, and take things easy like a Sunday morn. Today is the 6th of February 2018. I'm your host, Shane Lockwood, and this is episode 68. Welcome aboard to all those who are listening for the very first time, and welcome back to all of my regular listeners. This podcast is a relaxed form of self-improvement. It's just a reminder to give ourselves 30 minutes a week to relax, unwind, and let go of the dramas of our everyday lives. You could be in your favorite armchair, sofa, couch, etc., with your favorite beverage in hand after a hard day's work. Or you could be in bed just listening to my voice to help you drift off to sleep. Or you could be at a kitchen table with a pen in your hand, ready to take notes on any particular ideas and things that I come up with. Please don't take legal or financial advice from a podcast, especially this one. Always seek professional advice in these matters. But I will talk in general terms, and there's nothing wrong with experimenting with some of this stuff. You should actually be able to save quite a bit of money with things that we're talking about. Before we begin, I do need to do a little housekeeping and do some corrections. In my last episode, I mistakenly said the herd community instead of the herd mentality in regards to Adam Reek's Herd Mentality podcast. It's a fantastic podcast. It's skeptical, atheistic in nature, but it's very comedian based. I'd like to say thank you to Elvin for that particular correction. To Melissa, who asked about Art Bell, but I didn't really have a whole lot of time to dig into what was going on with Art Bell. Or rather, I did have the time, I just didn't have the mental focus because I was leaving to go interstate at the time. So I did some digging into Art Bell. He started an internet radio show called Midnight in the Desert in 2015 for the Dark Matter Digital Network. He stepped down as host on December 11, 2015 in order to protect his family's safety, as there was apparently someone shooting firearms on his property, and he was replaced by Heather Wade. He still makes guest appearances on the show occasionally. To Adam, who responded to me via Spreaker comments, which don't allow a way of replying, unfortunately. Yes, Maynard was pretty cool. Meeting him was pretty cool too. He's both reserved and as flamboyant as the moment requires. So he's a showman through and through. Very professional. When the crowd started booing at certain jokes and things, he would say woo, woo instead of boo and try and make a joke about the situation. So very professional. There are a lot of organizations and people and institutions that I don't trust, and all I can really suggest is to actually follow the money. Who's paying who to say what about what? And the people that are actually pulling the wool over your eyes are probably the people that you least expect, strangely enough. As for depression and other mental illnesses, my thoughts on depression are my own. I can only go by my own experiences, and everybody has their own ways of dealing with things, and I can only go through talking about like what I've gone through. And I try to avoid a lot of my past, actually. Sometimes there'll be a trigger and something will come up and think, oh my God, this is what happened to me, and I should feel really angry about this thing that happened to me 40 years ago as a child or whatever. But I've grown enough where I can separate those sorts of things in my mind and go, okay, not right now, I can deal with that at some other point. Anyway, it's February, so that means you've had plenty of time to both make and break your New Year's resolutions. If you made any, how long did they last? How many have you kept? What were they? Let me know in the comments section below, or in the usual places that you leave feedback for me with this podcast. Personally, I don't make resolutions because I find that I'm setting myself up for failure when I do that. Instead, what I have chosen to do is use this time to reflect on where I am in my life, what goals I may or may not have achieved in the previous year. Is there technology that I have now that I didn't have before? Things like now having a computer, now having a printer, Canon printer, that I've linked to my phone and I've linked to my camera so that I can print anything from pretty much anywhere now. So that's been quite an amazing achievement. I have a bit of a cold, which is why you can hear the sniffing. Another achievement is finding at least 6 weeks worth of work, helping to eradicate a fruit fly outbreak for the state government. But it also means long hours, it takes me an hour to get down to the other side of the city, an hour to get back, and I just don't have enough time to be able to do anything at all. I'm recording this after midnight, just to have that quiet time when my neighbours aren't listening to their music so loud you can hear it out by the letterbox and other silly things like that. But anyway, in terms of self-improvement and goal setting and whatnot, I set up something that I'm now calling 52 Weeks of Awesome. And the idea is where you take something really big that you want to achieve, and it could be something like paying off a mortgage. It could be going overseas on a trip. It could be something small, like getting a driver's license or something like that. Something that's going to take you a while to accumulate the money or to achieve the goal itself. It might not be financially motivated. It might be weight loss or just general fitness. A year in terms of fitness can be quite a big change. You can lose quite a lot of weight over a year. Most body transformations usually take 2 to 3 years for that weight loss to actually be sustainable and to actually develop the muscle gain to be able to do what it is that you want to do. So what you do is you take the big goal, you divide it up into 52 weeks, and you can, every week you achieve something towards that goal. Now, say for example, weight loss or fitness, it might be buying a set of adjustable dumbbells, and with, say, I don't know, 2 kilogram weights. You probably can't even get 2 kilogram weights, but so you get like 1 kilogram weights, you put them on, and you start lifting, and then you might go walk around the block once of an evening, right? Just something simple. Then the next week you might increase that to 2 laps. You might increase the weights that you're lifting, and so on and so forth. So you have what's known in the fitness industry as a progressive overload. So you're adding to what it is that you're doing. You're increasing your endurance, your fitness, and so on and so forth. Now, I got a little bit off track with everything else that's been going on. Like I said, I've been flat out since November, and people want me to do little things, what they say is the easiest thing in the world, but to me it becomes the straw that breaks the camel's back. I don't mean to insult anybody. It's just everything has to be put on hold for the next 6 weeks. I'm having trouble even buying a postage stamp from the post office because I just can't get a Saturday off when I can go into the post office. I've got to work every other day. I'm on the other side of the city. By the time I get back, everything's closed. I can't, it's just one of those things that I will try and have to sort out during a 30-minute lunch break in the middle of nowhere. It's not ideal, but it's what I've got to do. I might even make a few phone calls and ask somebody to actually go to the post office and buy me a stamp and then find a way to deliver it to me. Strange. And these days with the modern technology, you don't really need to do this, but some people want to go retro and whatnot. Anyway, into some other positive news. The people behind the game No Man's Sky had set up what's known as an augmented reality game, which is where the game itself bleeds into real life. And as part of the ARG, as they're known for short, one of the characters by the name of Elizabeth Layton, who was the head of the Atlas Corporation within the game, played by the gorgeous Amber Goldfarb, who does the voices for like the female characters in Assassin's Creed games and things like that. She suggested that if you wanted a physical copy of the version 4 Atlas Pass to supply your address through the website, and heaps of people requested these Atlas 4 physical card things, Atlas 4 passes, and they had a bit of a mix-up and a delay and whatnot. Anyway, they started posting them out, I think a couple of weeks ago, and people are starting to report them as receiving them. And fingers crossed, I should get mine tomorrow if I'm lucky enough to get one, because they were limited to 10,000 copies, I think. But someone's gone to the trouble of actually recording the physical locations of people that are reporting them found and put them on a map, you see. So I've been able to track the countries as it was slowly getting closer to Australia. So they released them first in Canada, and then they hit the United States, then the UK, then the various places around Europe, and then China, in Malaysia, and then New Zealand. And then, just then, when I checked it, someone had reported it from Victoria. So that means that Adelaide should be tomorrow. I think most of the international mail usually comes in on a Tuesday when it comes to Adelaide and things like that. But that's my perception of events. I don't know whether that's actually true or not. But I'm looking forward to that. I've looked forward to that for quite a while. So I hope I get an Atlas Pass. It's the end result of a long journey where the company Hello Games actually went through quite a lot of backlash. The game No Man's Sky was brutalized by critics, and the game could have died. The company could have just walked away, but they chose not to. They chose to improve the game as much as they possibly could. There are still people that are trying to torpedo the game, but it just keeps getting better and better. It's a relaxed space game. Now, it doesn't compete with some of the big boys, like Elite Dangerous and a few other like EVE Online and a few other others, but it's a different kind of space game. It's very much a first-person shooter. You can actually exit your ship and run around with a gun and explore. You don't even have to use a gun if you don't want to. You can just analyze plant life and creatures and do quests and things, and it's really, really interesting to me, at least, but I find it's really good for just passive gameplay. What I'm going to do is leave this particular podcast here. I know that the 15-minute ones haven't been traditionally very good in the past because of audio quality issues and things like that. I promise I will never record outside without proper equipment ever again. That's my promise to you. I just want to say thank you to everybody who has listened for this long, and I mean, it's only 15 minutes, but in terms of internet time and podcasts, it can be fairly long. Hopefully the next one will be a lot longer. I've had a request or a suggestion to reduce the size of the podcast to around 15 minutes I think to match Brian Dunning's Skeptoid, which is another great podcast. If you like mysteries and things like that, he goes through, and I don't want to use the term debunk, but very often uses evidence to discredit an idea, or will say there's a lack of evidence to prove that something is true, and then show you how a skeptic or a scientist would approach some of these things. And you don't always have to agree with what's being said and things like that, but it's always, I think, good to listen to people who have different perspectives and ideas and things than you have, and you can learn, I think, more about yourself based on your reaction to certain things. You may find you might be in a certain say you might be a little bit more conservative than you thought, or you might be a little bit more left-wing than you thought in terms of politics, or you may find that you're lacking in certain areas in regards to science or music knowledge and things like that, depending on what podcasts you listen to. It's always good to check out different things. The code word for this particular podcast is Crumble. That's Crumble, and all you need to do is let me know the code word in your chosen method of communication with me, whether it's in the comments section down on YouTube or through whatever apps you're using. It's better to go through the Facebook group. The links to all my contacts and things are in the description box down below. I need to stop hitting my microphone by accident, and I will leave it there. And I hope today and the rest of the week is easy like a Sunday morning. Bye for now.